Alright, so we're doing a quick tutorial here on how to go from Onshape, so we're doing that little phone stand tutorial, into a program called Inkscape, which is a vector editing program or vector creation program, and that will allow us to set things up for the laser cutter or laser engraver. We're going to do a little bit of both. Alright, so this is kind of where we're going towards. We kind of have our parts here, fully assembled. Again, I like to do this in Onshape first to make sure all my sizing is correct, things fit together the way I'm expecting them to, so on and so forth. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here to my part studio. Okay, I've got all my parts made, hopefully dimensioned properly. First off, I always like to double check here. Workspace units, we are in inches. I think Inkscape defaults to millimeters, so it might make our lives a little easier if we just change that to millimeters and go from there. Okay, so we've got my units changed to millimeters first, and what I'm going to do is eventually get here to Inkscape. Let me show you the overall process. So by the end, we want to do the following. We have all of our parts cut out, and notice here this is cut out in red. Things that are engraved, I like to make it black. Technically, you can do different colors at different power settings, but this is kind of the base concept. Is engraving things I'm going to leave in black. Things that I'm going to cut, I'm going to leave it in red. Okay, so here's kind of where we're going. And Inkscape, just for those of y'all who haven't used it before, it should be on your school desktop. So if you haven't already, go to your school desktop. You should be able to find Inkscape. Mine's right there. If you're using your own computer at home, feel free to just look it up. You can download Inkscape download. It is free, so feel free to download it and on your own personal computers as well. Alright, anyways, here we are. So the way I like to do this is I'm going to choose the face. So let's say I'm cutting out this centerpiece next. I'm going to click on that, right click on it, and it has this option right here. It says export as DXF or DWG. That's the one I want to click on. And it'll take me here. I might give it a name, phone stand centerpiece. Okay, DXF is fine. Typically release 14 should be good. I'm going to use workspace units in millimeters, download, and hit export. All right, and I can see right away it made that little phone stand centerpiece in my downloads folder. So now I can circle back over to Inkscape. Okay, once I'm here, what I'm going to do is go to import. Now, if you like shortcuts, it's Control I. If you want to go find it, let me think, it's probably under objects, maybe file, import. So again, Control I, and I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and there's what I just saved, phone stand centerpiece DXF, and we'll open that. Okay, it says manual scale, everything else there should be fine. Hit OK. And it's taking a second to think about it, and there is my piece. Okay, so I can kind of see that it looks like it's sized properly here. If I drag it up next to it, you know, it's kind of lining up where I want it to, so things are looking good there. And the other thing I'll just kind of point your attention to is your first time in Inkscape. When I select a part, it'll tell me right up here the sizing. So I can see right here the width of it is 1.66, height is 1.5 approximately. So if I wanted to, I can double check there. So this height should be 1.5 if I click edge to edge. Let me move my face to the side here. Oh, I'm in millimeters, 37.9 millimeters. Should be approximately 1.5, but let's do 2 inches. Yeah, give or take 1.5, pretty close. All right, back into Inkscape. Now notice right now when it defaults, it brings it in with a black outline. What I want to play around with, one of the tools I use a lot is fill and stroke. Again, if you want to pull up this menu, you can do either Shift Control F. If not, if you come over here to, should be under Object, yep, Object, Fill and Stroke, click on that, and that should open up this menu. Okay, so the way this works, if I select this, if I want it to fill in, if I notice here, if I like choose red, it will fill in some sections. I do not want that. I want to look at the stroke, and that is kind of the path, and I'm going to make that bright red. Okay, so notice the R is 255, everything else is 0, so now I got a bright red. If I want, I can look at the stroke style too, 0.26. Again, that just allows me to see what the cutting path is going to be. All Alright, so just like that, I've already got my cutting path, and this is all set up. And the other thing I like to point your attention to is right now, notice that these are all individual little sections. I would recommend highlight, click and drag over all of your pieces there. I'm going to come over here to path and go to combine. That's going to connect all those pieces. And now if I double click on this, I don't know if you guys can see these little dots. The dots is telling my, in this case, the laser cutter, the parts where I'm going to connect to. Okay, so then it'll connect the dots and cut out this piece. Alright, so simple enough. Now the last part is if you want to set up something for engraving. Right, so for example, I brought in this little Michigan Wolverine Wolverbear that I'm going to engrave. A couple ways you can do this. The one I'm going to point out right now is finding an image. Okay, so what I did when I went into Google Images, I just searched up Michigan Wolverbear logo. I searched up PNG, no background. You just want something that's really clean with hopefully minimal blurriness. So PNGs are typically pretty good, or if you can find a vector image in and of itself, that could work really well as well. Okay, but just for the sake of this example, maybe I'll come through here and let me see how this. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to right click on this, save image as, Michigan logo, we'll do that, hit save. Alright, now if I'm coming back over to Inkscape, I'm going to import again, Control I, or you can find it from File, Import. Alright, and this one's a JPEG, so we'll see how good it is, but hopefully it's relatively clean. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, now the other tool I really like to use here as a starter is Trace Bitmap. If I click on Trace Bitmap, right now it's set up by color. I'm going to go do some either brightness cutoff, edge detection, or if you want to keep colors, I'm going to do it in maybe 3 colors, so I get the blue, Mason blue. Alright, so again, I've got this live preview kind of telling me what it's going to look like. Feel free to play around with some of these other options. It really depends on what you want, right? So for example, brightness cutoff is just going to get that blue really. If I change that threshold, I might pick up some other aspects of it. Alright, so you can kind of see how it'll pick up depending on what you want. Okay, really up to you though. For now, I'm going to stick with colors. I'm going to get the 3 scans, so it's going to get the blue and the yellow. Okay, hit OK. Now on initial glance here, you might notice I've got some dots here. So it kind of picked up the outer border as its own color. So I'm going to click and drag that to the side, and we actually don't need this. So if you want, I'm hitting escape to get back to cursor mode. If I select it, hit delete, you can get rid of that. I also don't need this reference image anymore, so I'm going to click that and delete that as well. Okay, so now if I zoom in a little bit, by the way, to zoom in, you're going to hit Control and then hit the scroll wheel. Now if I click on this, I notice I've got a bunch of these little dots that represents the locations that the laser cutter will know where to engrave. Alright, so sometimes I might just keep it like that. It's giving me a couple options. If I want, I might get rid of this since this looks like a mess. And what I'm doing here is selecting the image, double clicking on it, and then clicking and dragging over these dots to delete. Okay, same thing over here. Click and drag over these ones. We don't want that. I'm going to hit delete. Alright, so again, I know there's probably a copyright infringement there, but we're not selling this. Alright, so once we have that set up, I'm going to click over all of this. And if I look now, if I go under fill, right, so for example, for the yellow, or maybe this is the blue portion, if I go to fill, it is all creating this shade of blue. If I wanted to, I can make that black so I know it's getting engraved, and then for example the yellow might be a little bit lighter and we have 2 different shades of engraving. Okay, that's one way to do it. The other thing that I might recommend, so actually let's finish this up here. So once I've got that, I can change the size of it. I like to make sure I have this lock symbol locked, so I lock the proportions. And then if I know it's going to be a certain size, let's say I know it's going to be an inch, I'll make that an inch. And if you want to practice lining things up, there's another tool here called Align and Object, and it should be Align and Distribute right here. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to select these two parts. And I might want to combine these two as well now that I'm seeing it. Let's link those together, hit Path, hit Combine. Oh, I see. It's going to be two separate. All right, let's just group it then. Highlight over it, and we're going to go over here to Group. There it is. Okay, so now this is all moving as one piece. And if I want to center them, I'll click on this, Shift-click on the other piece. That way I've got both selected. And I want to just make sure that they are aligned in the middle, so I'm going to choose that one, and that kind of locks them together. Okay, so that's basically it. At this point, I would also maybe recommend highlight over, group these together. Anything that you want together, I'm going to select them and group them. Do the same over here. Select them and then group. Okay. Once this is all ready, I gotta save it. So I'm going to go Control S to save. Make sure you know where it is. It'll save it as an SVG. This is a standard vector graphic. So I'll call this phone stand, or maybe more specifically, call it Michigan phone stand. Hit save. This is what you'll obviously send to me to submit as your assignment, and then I'll show you how to set that up and bring that into the laser cutter. All right. Hopefully that helps you. If you need anything else, obviously, you can just let me know.